So can you tell me what makes a $1 million flat?
There might be more million-dollar 4-room HDB flats.
Disappointed by the government.
When the rules very suddenly changed, I was quite upset.
HDB flats. More than 80% of Singaporeans live in them. But some flats recently have been making headlines for their $1 million price tags. In just September 2022 alone, there has been a record $45 million HDB flats sold on the resale market. I'm at the Pinnacle at Duxton, where you can find the most number of $1 million HDB resale flats. Over the last 2 years, the growing number of $1 million HDB resale flats has caused some concerns. Some people are asking, is public housing becoming unaffordable? I'm Michelle, and I'm on a journey to find out if the measures to cool the market will be effective. Or have they landed some in hot water? There are two parts to the measures. The first is that the amount buyers can borrow to finance their home is lowered. A lower loan-to-value limit for HDB loans from 85% to 80%. This is to prepare buyers for rising interest rates in the future. The second is to cool down the HDB resale market by moderating demand from private property downgraders. This also means that some private property downgraders find themselves unable to buy a HDB resale flat. A 15-month waiting period between the sale of private property and the purchase of a HDB resale flat without housing grants. Exemptions are made for seniors aged 55 and above buying a 4-room or smaller HDB resale flat. Let's go find some who have been affected. But first, I'm going for a cooking session. Joy is a property agent who dishes out housing tips. Interestingly, she does this while she cooks and interviews property experts for her video channel.
Is your HDB a positive or negative sale? Using the property financial discovery method, and that is why we added on it.
What was your client's reaction when they heard of the cooling measures?
So everyone knows that the cooling measures always happen near midnight, and then we got the hot news that's cooling measure. Then the first thing clients who are in the midst of selling or buying, right, first reaction is always, does it affect me? And what does all this jargon actually means?
Can you tell us, how has the rental market been?
Okay, rental market has been crazy all along. So probably we say about 2 years back, 4-room HDB we can fetch about 2008, 2009. But right now, easily it has already crossed 3005.
How many clients of yours are affected and how are they affected?
Probably I say that out of 10, 3 are greatly affected.
One person that Joy is helping is Wee King. So Wee King, how have you been affected by the measures?
I sold my condo 5 days before the new measure came out. And after understanding the new measure is that in 15 months, you are not allowed to get a resale flat. So I should say that the only option now is to renting a house to settle down first. Yeah. Things are a bit stressful for us because we need to move up the house by December last week. And we are urgently looking for a rented house in order to get a place to stay at the moment.
And so how difficult has it been to rent?
Oh, it's been very difficult because we have a pet dog. Landlord, I think out of 10, 9 of them were not allowed to have a pet in the house. If you happen to have one, they will have additional clauses, additional cleaning fee when you are moving out. And especially we are looking for 1-year terms, and situation now, they are all asking for 2-year contract. If the renter is at 4K, the 2-year contract will be about 96K. It all go down to the drain. It's all hard cash.
So what was your reaction when you first heard of the cooling measures?
Disappointed by the government. But yet, I do believe they are doing for a purpose because looking at the HDB housing price recently was ridiculous. Or it's like selling 900,000 to $1 million, which I don't think the next generation can able to afford HDB anymore. Moving forward, I just need to get a rental flat first. Then after that, I'll think, what should I do? Because now it's quite lost.
I also met up with Alan, who sold her one-bedder condo in August 2022. She exercised her option to purchase, also known as an OTP, to buy a HDB resale flat just 4 days before the cooling measures kicked in.
So on the 30th of September, the day which the rules came into effect, my agent texted me and said, hey, there's a 15-month wait-out period. And initially, I thought that I wouldn't be affected because I have an OTP dated before 30th of September. But for due diligence, we wrote to HDB to seek clarity on that matter. And HDB then replied that at that point, I wouldn't be eligible because I have not completed my resale application. So upon hearing it, I was quite distressed because that was not what I had expected, right? So I decided to write an appeal letter to MND and to HDB explaining my circumstances. And so understandably, when the rules very suddenly changed, I was quite upset. And also because I didn't make a contingency plan to rent for 15 months, I just didn't have the funds to do it.
Ellen is one of the 222 people who had their wait-out period waived by the HDB. So now that your appeal has been successful and you can proceed to buy your HDB resale flat, do you have any thoughts about the cooling measures now on hindsight?
So while I understood the intention of the cooling measures, policies are rarely one size fits all. Like for myself, I wanted to go from a private property to a HDB flat because I wanted to reduce my loan amount and to manage my finances in a more prudent manner. So there are genuine reasons, and many people have genuine reasons why they would want to live in a HDB flat instead. So I hope that in future, where future cooling measures are announced, it would carefully consider the various situations that people might be in and respond to them more proactively.
Up till September 2022, 266 HDB resale flats changed hands for at least $1 million. This figure smashes the 259 units sold in 2021. What do property agents think of their chances of closing $1 million HDB flat deals post-cooling measures? I went to look for the agents who sold a 5-room HDB flat in Henderson Road for $1.4 million in May 2022 to get their take. Guys, so can you tell me what makes a $1 million flat?
One of the major contribution to a $1 million price tag is also the number of years left on its lease. So the newer the flat, the more number of years left on its 99-year lease, and the more attractive it is to people.
Yeah, and of course, for $1 million flats, we are talking about location. A fantastic location that is close to the MRT, something possibly close to the central business district will possibly command these $1 million flats. And of course, most importantly is the views. Right? For this case, where we are at is Henderson. On my right, we have the unblocked view. At the back, we have the city skyline where you can see Singapore Flyer. And come, maybe let me just show you over there. We have the reflections at Keppel Bay where you can get a fantastic view of it.
How has the cooling measures impacted you as an agent?
Initially, we were thinking, wow, no more 5-room HDB. But then again, if you take a different approach to look at it differently, we also see that the measures-wise may also push more demand, especially from these private property owners who have that cash to pay for even higher 4-room HDB flats. So there might be more $1 million 4-room HDB flats that just come from this group of buyers.
So with the cooling measures, can you still sell $1 million flats?
For our clientele, there's a handful that comes from a first-timer and of course upgraders. I've spoken to quite a few of them. Income has risen quite a fair bit, and these are the people that they are also possibly not willing to wait out for possibly the BTOs, which takes about 4 to 5 years to build. Yes, there will still be possibly more $1 million flats coming on board. But at the same time also, because of the cooling measure, a small proportion of buyers from the private property side, we could possibly see a little curb on that.
With the cooling measures, I was curious if $1 million HDB flats will still continue to make headlines.
$1 million HDB flats, they don't appeal to everyone. They cater to this group of buyers who are looking for larger size units in central locations, and with the same budget, they are unable to afford that same size in a private resale or private condo market. So which is why these $1 million HDB flats will continue to be in demand. And as with inflation and increasing household wealth, we do see that HDB $1 million flats are definitely here to stay, and there might be even more volume in the future.
So Gwen thinks $1 million HDB flats are here to stay. I went to ask property expert Professor Sing Tian Fu the same question. And should young people like myself be worried if we are able to afford public housing in future?
I think the $1 million resale flat is going to stay, even though the number of transactions may be still small, less than 1%, but I think the housing flat surrounding this $1 million transaction is going to be valued around $1 million, but it doesn't mean that it will be transacted. For the young people who aspire to own their first house, you don't have to always look at this $1 million transaction because the supply of this $1 million transaction houses are actually limited. So for young couple, they actually have many other options. So they can actually look for houses that actually match their income, their affordability level. So you don't have to be overly concerned about the number of $1 million transactions in the market.
How long will it take to see the impact?
In the short term, we can alleviate some of the pressure, but we will not see immediate kind of price declines or in the market. We'll probably see some moderation. We may not, probably next quarter the price will still increase, but increase at a slower rate. Next year, probably we'll see a further adjustment and so on. The impact may take some time for the market to absorb some of this information. But again, in the long term, it's good for the market because when the market sort of like adjust to this cooling measure, the price growth slow down. It's actually more sustainable in the long term.
Actually, in your career, is this like one of the rare few times where there are cooling measures to hit directly at the HDB resale market?
Well, resale market, we have not seen the kind of intervention in the past because I think in the past people still have a BTO as options, but only last 2 years when this COVID lockdown and supply chain disruptions, people start to look at resale market as an alternative to the BTO. Then we see this BTO market started to become more and more active and the prices actually grown very significantly. It's even faster than what we see in the private market. I think this is probably one of the reasons why it triggered the government to take this action for this time.
After speaking to different groups of people, there seems to be some winners and losers. For those looking to buy their HDB resale flat, the measures may help prices become more affordable in the future. For the downgraders, they will have to find ways to serve out the 15 months wait-out period. Perhaps these measures are a matter of short-term pain, but long-term gain.